Yeah, I mean, I think as a business model, my business is not easily replicable because you'd have to write a best-selling book and then just get a ton of jobs from everyone reading your book. So that's not something that uh, so many people are lucky enough to do. I feel incredibly lucky when I wrote Walkable City that it became a popular book. I didn't think it would, or I didn't think it wouldn't, but I didn't expect it to. And so, the story of my business as a business over the past decade or more has been essentially getting called into communities, either by the communities themselves or by real estate developers, sometimes some very big ones, um, who read the book and then say, "Oh, I want to talk to this guy." And that often leads to a lecture in the community, and then the lecture often leads to public work. In some cases, though, Jeff Vinnick, who ran the Magellan Fund for Fidelity for many years. Then he ran his own fund, got quite successful. He was already successful. So Jeff Vinnick decided he wanted to own a hockey team, and he bought the Lightning in Tampa, which he's taken to championships and won. And he was a member of the TED Book Club, and he got my book and read it and called me up and said, "Hey, I've got a neighborhood that needs designing." So it's kind of it's a not easy to replicate business model.
So, hey, Jeff Speck with Speck and Associates, city planner and author. Thanks for joining us today. We're here to talk about Walkable City. It was originally authored in 2012, and there's an update to it along with many other books you've co-authored. I love the topic Suburban Nation, which seems like that's something that would speak to me. And then a couple others that you principal authored on the smart growth, Walkable City rules. And then you also have TED Talks where there have been over 6 million of us human beings laying our eyes on those discussions. So you're probably not going to be able to spend as much time with us today that we like, and maybe we can pack all this in. But I think we're going to have an interesting conversation around why walkable cities are best, how they can positively impact our communities. And I can't wait to hear all the intelligence about the impacts you've made around cities around this country. And who knows, maybe somebody calls you and says, "This is our dude after this." So me being in the real estate business, Jeff, I'm pumped about hearing how we can make our cities better, more walkable, and how we're enjoying better. So welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Why are walkable cities best?
Well, let me first say, in response to your very kind introduction, that that's probably not 6 million people viewing my TED Talks. It's 6 million views, and half of those were me. So we can cut the number a little bit.
How about we say in the millions?
Yeah. So I'm a city planner. I didn't think if you'd asked me 20 years ago, 30 years ago, of walkability would be anything that I would be pursuing or talking about or generally focusing on walking. That was not my intention. What I've learned doing city planning projects for about 30 years is that the way to be a good city planner, if you want cities to be healthy and wealthy and sustainable, you orient the design around making them more walkable, and lo and behold, you achieve those goals. So that's led me to reframe what you might call best practices in city planning around this concept of walkability, and caused me to identify a lot of research by other people about why walkable places are so much better for us in so many different ways. I think in terms of business, it's really interesting. If you think about why cities exist, I mean, cities exist because they bring us together. And the more they're able to bring us together, the more they're able to concentrate us in one place, the more they're doing their job as cities. It's what we call propinquity, or just closeness. And the data are very clear. There's a lot of really interesting data around cities. The bigger a city you come from, the faster you walk. That's interesting. That's why New Yorkers walk so damn fast. But the more dense an area you come from, the more stuff there is in it, the more patents there are per capita. Not overall, but per capita. Like, density creates creativity. And in fact, what they found in a recent study, they looked at the length of commutes of different entrepreneurs and different actual inventors and scientists. and they found that for every mile your commute was longer, you were producing 1% fewer patents, and your patents were of 1% lower quality. So whether it has to do with the density of the city or just the time stuck in traffic, generally speaking, the more concentrated a place is, the better it is for business. Now, there's also an example of a place like Atlanta. Now, granted, Zoom has changed this. And I should say there's a lot of conversation about whether Zoom interactions truly have the success of face-to-face interactions, and we should talk about that. But before Zoom, at least, if you lived in Atlanta, you were lucky to get 2 meetings a day, right? You'd have one meeting on the north side of town, one meeting on the south side of town. You got to get between them, and you'd be crazy to schedule more than a morning meeting and an afternoon meeting. In Boston, you can schedule easily 4 meetings a day. Because you know that you're going to be able to get quickly between the different places. There's a good transit system. There's generally more compactness and density, as I suggested. So there's that. And of course, you can say the same thing about a small town, but a small town isn't going to have the same number of successful business people in it as you would find in a bigger place.